At the end of the day, all you need to do is just make a decision to change, to transform. You don't have to stay where you are. You can make the decision that, you know what, I don't want to be this way tomorrow, next week, or next year. I want to make a change about who I am so that my life is better, not somebody else's life. On the last episode, if you've been following me on social media, you know that I've just shared my story of being in the hospital for 7 long days. I know people will hear the number 7 and think, that's not too long, but honey child, when you're not in your home and you're in somebody else's bed, people are coming into your room every 4 hours, taking your blood pressure, your temperature, your vitals, your pulse ox, all that stuff. It was not a 7-day vacation, okay? 7 days is a long time to be in the hospital. The next morning, I woke up. Again, the nurse was like, we have to answer all these questions for your MRI, but we have to wait. I think she said we had to wait until 12 midnight. We had to wait until a certain time to answer these questions that you have to answer for the MRI, and then they would schedule it. We did that. As soon as the time came, we did that. So, I'm asking throughout the night, has it been scheduled? And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I got to wait, till the people come in the morning. And I'm like, this hospital, they probably start MRIs at 7 a.m. And then I'm thinking, well, if you were in an ER, isn't there somebody available 24/7 to do MRIs? I don't know. That's just a thought. So I'm asking, what's going on? Has it been scheduled? Has it been scheduled? My IV beeped, and the nursing manager came in. And, she's like, what happened? And I'm like, I know I said that I was going to leave this energy behind. I was done. So I said, well, I'm going to tell you. I said, but you're going to get the textbook version because I have let all of this go already. And I don't want to bring it up for myself anymore. But I'm going to tell you what happened just so, you'll know what happened yesterday evening. So she's like, was there anything that, that I can do for you? And I said, yes, if you can you call MRI and get this scheduled? And she said, you know what? That's what I'm going to try and do. And I said, thank you. I appreciate it. I said, because, again, I just don't feel safe. And I just would like to go home. I don't feel safe here. So that nurse really helped me. She was like, I'm going to try my best to get this scheduled for you. So she left out. And she came back in about 20 minutes later, and she's like, hey, you're scheduled for 10:30. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. 10:30 or 11. I think it was 10:30. It was about 9 o'clock then. So I was like, thank you so much. So my husband was, on his way up. He did not come up that night because, again, he had been driving. So I was like, go home and get some rest. So he was getting himself together to come up. And I was scheduled for my MRI, so I appreciate her. I'm not really good with names. I do remember a couple of people's names. I do not remember her name, but she was a nursing manager, and she did get that done for me. So shout out to the nursing managers. Shout outs, okay? So go, get ready. I was already in PO that morning. I think that the people really need to talk to each other because a tray did show up to my room that morning. I wasn't going to eat that food anyway, so that wasn't whatever. And they were probably sick of me because I stopped ordering food, right? Because I was in PO, and they would still send food up. And that's because it was never changed in the system. But this is how things happen where I could have been a patient that just was not aware, or a patient that just wasn't going to follow the rules, and I would have eaten what they, brought to the room. So, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to eat that. And they was like, yeah, we know, Miss Fortin, whatever. So, have a great day. So, yeah. So, NPO, that's fine. So, I got up. I was getting myself together. I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and take my shower. I'm going to get this MRI done. Set my intention. I sat there. I, meditated. I did an NLP technique on myself. I did a self-hypnosis session that morning with myself, just to set my intentions and get myself together for this MRI. Again, thank you, God. Thank you, Infinite Source, for already resolving this issue. So I go down for my MRI. MRI was done. They were like, it should only take about 20 minutes if you can be still or what have you. And I'm like, girl, I'm not going to move because I want to get this done. Just like when I get my little ombre eyebrows touched up, which are tattoos, honey, I don't move. I don't care what you're doing because you ain't going to mess up my face. So at this point, I was like, I'm not moving. I need to know what's going on. Y'all want a closer look? I want a closer look. I want to know what's going on. So did the MRI, come back to the room. Waiting. I guess it probably took, I was only in the MRI for about 20 minutes. I actually fell asleep towards the end. Then I got scared because, they tell you to take a deep breath in and hold. I wasn't doing it at the end because homegirl was asleep. Okay, I was knocked out. So had the MRI, went back to the room. I don't even think I know it wasn't an hour. It was not even an hour before the doctor came in. Now, I don't know how that MRI was reviewed so quickly because I had been waiting for everything else. And I guess after my rant the night before, I guess they was like, yeah, we better put a red flag on this chick chart to get her stuff together because she's not playing with us. But the doctor came in and he goes, no gallstones. I'm looking at him like, what? No gallstones. And I put an S on that because while at the other hospital, that doctor said there's more than one. When this entire time I'm thinking it's one. They had the measurement of it and everything from the CAT scan. So I did leave that out. So when I left the other hospital to come back to this hospital, I was told that it was more than one. Okay. So again, I'm setting my intentions to get rid of this for this situation to already be resolved in my favor. So he comes in, no gallstones. And he's like, I can't explain it. I think he was even a little embarrassed, like almost like maybe I would think that they were playing with me all this time, talking about I had gallstones and I didn't. But trust and believe, honey. I know why you ain't see no gallstones, okay? Because I set my intention. And I moved that energy around in my body. And I used all the energy that I had in my intention, in my journaling, in my breath work. In my world, the issue was already resolved. Now, that was the kicker. After all of this stuff that I've gone through, the pain, the what have you, the whatevers, okay, to at the end of the day, for there to be no evidence of gallstones. Now you tell me, what is that? Because I know what it is. I know that it's a combination of my mindset, the energy work, the breath work, the sound healing, all of those things, me tapping into my inner power is the reason why you didn't find any gallstones. Okay? So that is my belief, and it ended up in my favor. So it's not a person on this planet that can tell me that I do not decide my outcome. Now, mind you, there are certain situations that may be too late to change because your mindset was not in the right place, or You didn't have the capacity to be in the mindset to put yourself in a situation that you possibly can make changes, even if not resolving things, but to make things better for yourself. But for me, honey, no gallstones. And he was absolutely speechless. And the look on his face was pure embarrassment. Because had I been, I'm going to say, a regular thinker, okay, I would have been looking at him like, I'm going to sue y'all. Y'all had me up in here doing all this stuff, and I ain't even had no gallstones. Oh, no, I had some gallstones when I walked up in there. Because you ain't told me that pain was just there for nothing. And you're not telling me what you can see on this CAT scan are not these little things in this area where my bile duct was, whatever. They were there. Well, it was there. I didn't see any other ones. And now they weren't. So I had to be detailed about this story because this has been proven to me time and time and again. If you are not where you want to be, it is because you have not made the conscious decision to tap into your subconscious mind in order to make the changes that you need to make to be where you want to be. All you need to do is just make the decision that you want to start. And this can apply to anything that you want to do. I myself am not even perfect at this, at thinking like this 24/7. I have to remind myself of how powerful I am. It does not immediately come all the time for me. And that is because over an amount of time, especially after the age of 32, your personality is set. All of your experiences that you have experienced growing up, your friends that you have had, they experience you. Your parents put their fears on you because you learn about their fears, and now you even either have taken on their fears or have made the conscious decision to do the opposite of their fears, right? And it keeps you in that loop because that subconscious mind, girl, they love loops. They love a loop. And you keep playing that same thing over and over and over again. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. It's too late. I can't do that. I'm not that person. I'm not as pretty as she is. I'm pretty, but she's prettier. Blah, 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 blah. We just keep on going in these loops. Sometimes you got to throw a wrench up in there. You have to throw a monkey wrench in your thinking. I would love to be that monkey wrench for you. I love teaching women that you can make any changes that you want to make simply by thinking differently. And all you need to do is simply make that decision. Now, it takes hard work. You have to be disciplined. You have to be focused. You have to be persistent. And you have to be consistent. And what happens is you're able to stop yourself faster than before. So when you start thinking, you know what? And most of us, and I work with professional women. So these women, they know that they're beautiful. They know that they are smart. They have good jobs. But then you always still have this little bit limiting belief. She's just sitting right here just to remind you who you said who you were before. And even though you're really smart, and even though you look in the mirror, you think that you're beautiful, you're not that beautiful. You're not that smart. That's where those old thoughts come creeping back in, even for people who know that they are worthy, but they allow that thought to come in and keep them in that same loop. It takes effort to start to change it. And that is what I do. And so I wanted to share this story because that is what I do with myself. So now when I have that moment that pops in where I'm like, that's not going to work out, I'm only there for a second. Then I'm telling myself, wait a minute. You used to walk around with the weight of 2 adults and a toddler. At almost 700 pounds, I was working. I got married. Well, I was a little bit less when I got married. I was going to school. I can't deny how much of a bad chick I was back then. You couldn't pay me to carry around 2 adults and a toddler right now. I don't know how she did it. But when I can tell you that when I tap into her power, honey, there's no stopping me. What you mean I can't do that? I used to weigh almost 700 pounds and I wasn't stuck in the house. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. Don't tell me I can't do nothing. But it still, it still creeps in. So with practice over time, you can get past it. You can move past it. You can become the woman that you thought you could never be. Now I want to share with you what I did while I was in the hospital. This holiday season, give yourself the gift of transformation. Join me for the 12 Days of Christmas Think Different, Be Different in 2026 Challenge. 12 short, powerful sessions designed to teach you to step into the woman you thought you could never be. We start December the 7th. You said this year, last year. Don't break another promise to yourself. Get your ticket now at girlissallinyourhead.com. All right, and we're back. Okay, so this whole show is just about being resilient, right? And why resiliency matters. I'm going to read you the definition of resilience. It is the ability to adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant stress. Being resilient can always get you from point A to point B. But you have to make that muscle, your subconscious mind, I like to call it a muscle because it's just so strong. You have to put it into practice so that no matter what comes your way, you're able to look at the situation and turn it around for yourself. And when I say turn it around, I don't mean the actual situation. I mean to turn your mindset and how you are reacting to it around. Because that makes a difference, right? So, just for example, and I hate to keep using weight, but for me, I just have thousands of examples for weight and weight loss because that is my experience. So, if you know that you need to lose 50 pounds, right? If you don't focus on the numbers on a scale of losing the 50 pounds, but you instead put that energy towards thinking differently about your food, making better food choices, deciding to move your body so that you're able to be pain-free and get around and not let me move my body so I can lose 50 pounds. You're going to have a better chance of losing the 50 pounds because if you focus on just feeling better and moving around better and eating food that helps to heal your body, those are lifelong changes, where the byproduct is losing 50 pounds. If you only focus on, let me go into the gym to work out for 2 hours and I can lose 2 pounds every other day, that's not sustainable. So you haven't really made a lifelong change. What you've done is you provided a quick fix. So that's what I mean by being resilient and being able to change things around for you because you focus that energy on things that just going to help you improve your life, period. Not just lose 50 pounds. I hope that makes sense. So for me with losing the weight and getting stuck in a plateau for 9+ years. Once I started to focus on just being well and feeling better, the byproduct of that was losing the rest of my weight to where I felt comfortable at the weight that I was in. I can't be responsible for what a medical book says how much I should weigh based on my height and a BMI. Because those things are based on a middle-aged white man. Why would I want to look like him? As cute as I am. Why would I want to look like a middle-aged white man? Who would want to do that? As a black woman. Okay? So I don't go by those outcomes because they're not outcomes for me. So once I took charge and decided what I wanted, then things started to change. Okay? And there, by the book, I think I'm supposed to weigh 135. I wouldn't even be able to look in the mirror and feel as sexy as I do right now. Why would I do that to myself? You never let somebody else's expectations be yours. You have to have your own expectations. So that's why it is important to be resilient, because then you're able to just deal with anything that comes your way, right? So resilience is something that it anchors you in the belief of limitless possibilities. It helps you to nurture your actions and nurture your feelings and nurture your, I like to call them, I need to give them a name because it's really your immediate response is what's really important when it comes to transforming your life. I can't say it enough. You should always think of transformation as always having the ball in your court. No, I'm keeping the ball. I'm not giving it to you for you to make any decisions for me. I'm keeping the ball over here. Because then I get to decide where I'm going to throw it, when I'm going to take it back. I get to decide all of that, not you. So most times when people criticize you or they say, oh, well, you need to do this. I've had new doctors to say to me, they didn't say this, but this is how I feel. Oh, your finger is hurting. Oh, if you just lost, 25 pounds, your finger will stop hurting. Girl, move over. Move over. You got to stop letting other people's opinions and their expectations impact you. Because we all have our own opinions and what we like and what we don't like. So, like for me, I don't like leaving out the house without my earrings on. So I could look at other women that are out and they don't have earrings on. And I may even think to myself what I used to. God, you don't even have any earrings on. Or another pet peeve of mine. And then it's only for me because I'm going to mind my business. You may not agree. I don't know how you get dressed up. And let's say you go to work and you're dressed up and your hair is back in a ponytail that's not done. I'm not talking about a cutesy ponytail. Like I have my hair up in a bun right now, right? But somebody else may say that bun look a hot mess. I thought I did my bun pretty good. So I like it, right? But I'm talking about people who are dressed up and their hair is not done. I don't know how that matches. Why would you get dressed up and you don't even have your hair done? Now, makeup artists may even take it a step further and say, why are you all dressed up and your hair not done and you don't have no makeup on? Someone may look at this show and say, how do you do a show and you don't have any makeup on? I'm not a big makeup person. I have focused to get my skin really pretty and glowy and all that stuff. I think it's beautiful. You know, I'm aging, so I still have some little things that I wouldn't mind for it to be better. But I've gotten to the point where I feel beautiful with no makeup on. And I even have a cut on my lip right now because being without any food and all that stuff for, 7 days, my lips were so dry, I ended up cracking my lip over here just from having a dry, mouth and dry lip. But I feel beautiful. I feel like I look fine because it only matters in what I think. It only matters in what you think. So even though I do look at some women like, well, they wouldn't know that's what I'm thinking because I wouldn't dare walk up to somebody and say, why you all dressed up and your hair look a mess? Who does that? You know what I do? I mind my business. I don't say anything because that is my preference for me. If I'm going to be dressed up, matter of fact, my hair will probably always be done. I don't care what I have on. And that comes from me weighing almost 700 pounds and not feeling pretty in clothes because I couldn't find a lot of cute clothes. So one thing I did have control of, honey, was my hair and this face. Okay, so I may have looked like I had on a potato sack because I was so heavy. But honey, my hair was done. Them earrings were on. I didn't always wear makeup, but my hair and my earrings were always on because it was the only thing that I could control for me at almost 700 pounds, not being able to wear the clothes that I wanted to wear. Everything is rooted in your experience. So that's probably where that comes from, where why you come out the house and you don't have no earrings on, you dressed up and your hair not done. But that's me that I may say inside. And as a matter of fact, I probably don't even say it as much because everybody is beautiful. I'm going to call you beautiful no matter what because everybody deserves to feel beautiful no matter what. So I just wanted to share that even with all of that, you cannot let somebody else's opinion dictate who you're going to be, dictate how you show up, and what you're going to do and how you're going to present in this world. So it is important to do that. So how do you become resilient? Y'all know I'm a teacher. I always got something. So I thought about what I did while I was in the hospital, and I created these steps. So the first thing I did when I was in this situation and I knew, okay, I needed to, how was I going to respond to this? I remembered who I was. I just said, I was a chick at almost 700 pounds, honey. I was still cute. My hair was done. I was doing a lot of things. It was no 600-pound life over here. Now, was I slowed down a lot? Absolutely. Okay. But I was not stuck laying in the bed all day. And I didn't realize how resilient I was back then. And so now that I look back on things that I used to do and how I carried myself, it just makes me feel stronger to know that I'm that person. Like, oh my gosh. Like, and I refer to myself in third person, like, that girl was bad, honey. Because she's the one who made the decision for us to have this surgery. And I didn't know how strong I was back then and how much I was tapping into my subconscious mind. I did not have a word for it back then. I just did it. And now that I'm able to reflect, I've had this superpower this entire time. But the limiting beliefs and the conscious part of me was in my way. In my way. So you got to remember who you are. You need to just take a step back and remember how powerful you are and how powerful your subconscious mind is. So that's the first thing that I did. I sat there and I thought about, wait a minute. I've been in the hospital for over 10 times. I got really bad staph infections with both my tummy tuck and my thigh lift. Where, especially with my thigh lift, I was in the hospital 5-6 times trying to get rid of that staph infection. I was on the heart unit. That infection was around my heart. I most certainly almost died from that staph infection. Not once did I believe that I was going to die. I am resilient. So I had to sit back and remember, girl, you almost died twice and you still here. You want like some little gallstones? Come on, let's go. Let's go. What we doing? What we doing? Okay? So that's the first thing. Remember who you are. The second thing, you got to choose your response. And even if it's not a really good response, because I'm telling you, I went off when I came back to that hospital late Tuesday night. Okay, I had an audience. And I was like, I'm going to get my stuff. I'm getting ready to go home. That's what I'm getting ready to do. So even though I had that response, I ended up not choosing that response because I really could have left. I could have just grabbed my bag. Matter of fact, I was at the point where I would have just put my clothes on and I would have left. I would have been like, y'all can have all that. My life is abundant. I can rebuy all that stuff. Y'all can have it. I'm out. I would have just left everything there and went right on to my safe and comfortable, warm house. Okay? So you got to choose your response. You got to, have that, start gathering, okay, how am I going to respond to that? That's where the journaling comes in. Write down. I wrote down, how do I want this outcome to look? What do I want this to mean for me? What can I learn during this experience? I sat there and reflected. The third thing, I increased my meditation. I normally meditate every day, very short. Just like 2-3 minutes, I meditate every single day. Honey, I had this downtime in my room. I knew I had 4 hours before somebody else was going to come up in there to take my temperature, my blood pressure, the blood work, all that stuff. I meditate. I had already increased my meditation, but when I got back from the hospital Tuesday night and I knew that I was going to get the MRI, I meditated probably the rest of that night. That's what I was doing. And I'm not talking about, even though I did sit quiet and I played my my frequency music and I meditated, but even when I wasn't doing that, while I was just sitting, I didn't even have my television on. I kept saying in my head, I'm so grateful now that this situation has been resolved. That is a meditation. When you're just sitting there and you're focusing on a thought, that is meditation. I sat there and going to the next thing, I increased my breath work. I listened to the breathing. As I breathe in, I breathe in positivity and good energy and healing energy to resolve this situation. And I exhaled the situation. I need this energy out. And it's just, I can't even explain it to you, but the feeling, I don't know, when it happens, when you know. Okay? So I also increased my breathwork activity. And then step 5, I basically was my hype man. I nurtured myself. I had my good body smelling body butter. Every time I put it on, the nurses would be like, or the tech, they'd be like, what is that you are using? It smells so good. So essential oils are good for you to have that, that smell. And like, I nurtured myself. When I took a shower, while I washed my body, this situation is resolved. I would wash around this area that pain was. I was in a little bit of pain. I don't even want to call it pain. I was uncomfortable. While I was taking my shower, I'll be like, this is resolved. Thank you, God, for resolving this. When I rinsed the soap off, it was in my mind, everything is washing away. I'm washing away any energy that does not serve me. I was very, 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 very intentional about everything that I did. I pulled in all of the energy that was going to serve me, and I made sure that I released anything that did not. Including, I had one blood person, phlebotomist, who she was nice, but she wasn't the nicest. And when I would say to her, the one blood draw that she did, it actually caused my entire arm to hurt. The bruise up here, I could barely move my fingers. And when I said that to her when she came back in, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." And she kept going. Ma'am, are you serious? But I released her. Because if I hadn't, and I knew I needed the blood work, I would have refused her from drawing blood on me because you messed up that day. You may be good, but you weren't good that day. Okay? But I chose to just release that energy because I wasn't going to allow her energy to mix with mine because I had an issue to resolve. Okay? So your little energy wasn't coming up in here. And when I respond, I'm very good with feedback, with giving feedback in a good way so that they get better. Because when you're in a hospital, it's people that you're serving. You got to be careful. So anyway, that's a side note. So yeah, so I nurtured myself. So let's talk about what this can mean for you. What if you didn't wait until a curveball was thrown at you? What if you didn't wait until the gallstone came up and you just lived your life being resilient at all times? You're already several steps ahead. So then when something does come up, you're ready for it. You're already ready to look at your glass being half filled, full, whatever, instead of half empty. I always try to look at that. Now, I'm a little bit of a comedian too. So a lot of times how I respond, it sounds negative when I'm really just being funny. Because at the end of the day, I know that I determine my outcome and I don't rely on anybody else to make any types of changes for me. So it only matters in how I respond. And it depends upon the day and time, whether I got time for you today. Because sometimes people need to be put in their place. But for the most part, I'm putting my own self in my own place. Because I am responsible for how I respond to everything. It's not somebody else. So the reason why you want to practice being resilient, because if you just decide to practice this on a daily basis, I mean, do I really need to tell you guys what will happen if you decided to always be in a place of being resilient? Because it can be applied to everything that you do. Even coming down to driving and somebody cut you off. Because I am that person in the car that be cussing you out. But honey, when I get out the car and I saw you, I ain't going to open up my mouth. I may be cussing you out in the car, but I'm not going to say nothing to you because people are crazy. And I don't want your energy to totally mesh in with mine. So I have this rule of thumb. If I say one negative thing about somebody, then I have to say 3 positive things at the end. Because that's something that I'm working on. And that comes from, again, my experiences of growing up. Now, I was never really teased about my weight, but I'm not saying that no one has never said anything to me about my weight. And to be honest, as growing up in school, I never really had an issue with children. Children can be cruel. I had an issue with a coworker at one point. It seemed like everything he said was, you always had something to say about my weight. Like, what is it about you that you have to say something to me or crack a joke about me and my weight when you were fat your daggone self? But I turned it around. I turned it around because I can't be responsible for what other people think. I can only be responsible for how I choose to respond to it. And the same goes for you. And so this is why you always want to operate in a place of being resilient. because it can only be positive things for you, because you're always going to look at situations as, oh yeah, that's, oh, I can get past that. Yeah, they may set me back a step, but then I'm going to be able to take 3 steps after that. You know what I mean? It's just, it brings in positive vibes. It brings in it just increases your magnetic field and your vibration. And when you're in that state, you're able to attract and welcome in things that are in your favor. So I hope my little story, I was trying not to make it long, but I did not want to leave anything out. I hope you learned something about being resilient. And at the end of the day, all you need to do is just make a decision to change, to transform. You don't have to stay where you are. You can make the decision that, you know what? I don't want to be this way tomorrow, next week, or next year. I want to make a change about who I am so that my life is better, not somebody else's life. So I urge you to just think different, be different. I'll see you guys in the next show. See you.